Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Ahmadi Rahman Agus, one of student in English Education Department, class 5E, and this occasion I want to explain about critical educational research and theory educational research for the chapter 3 until chapter 4. The title book is The Research Methods in Education. So the first chapter is Critical Educational Research. Number 1. Critical Theory and Critical Educational Research. Critical theory is explicitly perspective and normative, entailing a view of what behavior in a social democracy should entail. Way 1987, Morrison 1995. Its purpose is not merely to understand situation and phenomena, but to change them. In particular, it seeks to emancipate the disempowered to richness, inequality, and promote individual freedoms within a democratic society. Its intention is not merely to give an account of society and behavior, but to release a society that is based on the equality and democracy for all its members. And slide number 2, critical theory and critical education research have their substantive agenda. For example, examining and interrogating the relationship between school and society, how school perpetuates or reduces inequality, the social construction of knowledge, and curricula, who defines what real knowledge, what ideological interest school serves, and how this reduces inequality in society. And for slide number 3, Mertens 2007 argues that a transformative paradigm enters into every stage of the research process because it's concurrent and interrogation of power. A transformative paradigm first 280 and 225 has several basic beliefs. The first is ontology, the nature of reality or of a phenomenon. Politics and interest shapes multiple beliefs and values, as these beliefs and values are socially constructed, privileging some views of reality and others respecting others. And B, epistemology, how we come to know these multiple realities, influenced by communities of practice which define what counts as acceptable ways of knowing and affecting the relationship between the researchers and the communities who are being researched, such that partnerships are formats that are based on equality of power and esteem. And C, methodology, how we research complex multiple realities, influenced by communities of practice which define what counts as acceptable ways of researching, and which mixed methods can be to as they enable a qualitative dialogue to be established between the participants in the research. And D. Axiology, principles and meanings in conducting research and the ethics that govern this beneficence, respect, and the promotion of social justice. From Haberman early work, we come to its three research styles: the scientific positivist style, the introspective style, and emancipatory ideology critical style. Not only does critical theory have its own research agenda, but it also has its own research methodologies, in particular ideology, critical, and action research. The three methodologies that admit to Haberman's knowledge constructive interests are set in table 3 in 1 for the table. And next is criticism of approach from critical theory. Marison 1995 suggests that critical theory, because it has a practical intent to transform and empower, can and should be examined that perhaps tested empirically. For example, critical theory claims to be empowering, that is a tense-table proportions. And next is participatory research and critical theory. In participatory research, the emphasis is on research for changes and development of communities. Emphasis is placed on knowledge that is useful in improving lives, rather than for the interest of and under the control of the academic or the researcher. It is research with a practical intent for transforming lives and communities. It makes the practical more political and the political more practice. Civil in 1983. Hall in 2005 sets out several principles for PR. The first is a research project, but process and result can be of immediate and direct benefit to a community, as opposed to serving merely as the basic of an academic paper of absurd policy analysis. And number two, research project should involve the community in the entire research project, from the formulation of the problem, the interpretation of the findings, to planning corrective action based upon them. And number three is the research process should be seen as part of a total educational experience which serves to determine community needs and to increase awareness of problem and commitment to solution within the community. And the fourth is research should be viewed as a dialectic process, a dialogue over time and not a static picture of a reality at one point in time. In number 5, the object of research, like the object of education, should be the liberation of human creative potential and the mobilization of human research for the solution of social problems. And number 6, research has ideological implication. First is the reformation of the political nature of all we do. Research that allows for population involvement and increased capacities of analysis will also make conflictual action possible or necessary. Hall 2005. And the next is feminist research. It is no more contention that feminist research should surface as a serious issue at the same time as ideology critical paradigm from research. They are constantly connected. With it all 2005 set out six principles for a feminist pedagogy in the teaching of research methodology. The first is reformulation of the professor-student relationship from hierarchy to equality and sharing. Number two, empowerment for a participatory democracy. And number three, building community through collaborative learning. And number four, privileging the individual voice, not only the lectures. And number five, respect for the diversity of personal experience, roots, for example, in gender, race, ethnic, class, sexual preference. And the last is challenging traditional views, e.g. the sociology of knowledge. And the next is a note of post-colonial theory and queer theory. Helper in 1996 reads that queer theory focuses on whether is at odds with the normal, the legitimates the document. Its task is to explore problematic and interrogative gender, sexual orientation, and also their mediation by the interaction with others, characteristic or forms of opposition, for example, social class, ethnic, color, disability, nationality, age, able needs, and Marshall and Rahman 2019. And the next is value neutrality in educational research. Later in 1989 argues that as neither education nor research is natural, researchers do not need to apologize for undertaking clearly ideological research and its intention to change the status quo or inequality. And as the last is a summary of three major paradigms. There are summary three major paradigms that there. And the next is theory in educational research. What is theory? Theory is a slippery term. It sometimes connotes binary opposition, theory versus practice, abstract versus concrete, possible but unlikely, in a theory versus actual or empirical in practice, general versus specific, theoretical versus useful. CPBST at 2011. And the next is why have theory? A theory helps us to select, classify and organize ideas, processes and concepts. It helps us to explain, classify and articulate the heart of the issue. Theory helps us to formulate, find causal relationship. It helps us to understand what, how, and why observed phenomena and regularities occur. And the next is What makes a theory interesting? Alvision and Sandberg 2030 argue that interesting theories are those that challenge our taken for granted assumption in some significant way that problematics them. In this respect, they have bigger impact than incremental and gap-spotting theories, as these latter to tend to work within give agendas rather than to challenge them. And the next is the types of theory. The first is empirical theories, the second is current theories, the third is middle range theory, the fourth is the normative theory, and the fifth is grounded theory. And the next is, where does theory come from? Where does a theory come from? How does one establish a theory? Clearly, there are many starting points. On starting points may be through observation and analysis. For example, of observer regularity of relationship of an acquisition of events of data. Another is through reflection and creativity. And the next is question about theory for researchers. In considering the role of theory in educational research, researchers can address the following question. E. What definition of theory are you using? And B. What is your theory? State it clearly. Is it a hypothesis, a set of related concepts, a value system, a political or ideological agenda, an explanatory framework, a possible explanation, an opinion, an approach, etc. And the last is the conclusion. Theories help us to think. They articulate and organize ways of approaching a problem or phenomenon. And theories also help us to learn. They can render ideas testable, define ways of working, tell us which ideas, statements, conclusions, lines of realism stands fast when tested rigorously, and which appear to be valid, reliable, credible, legitimate, sounds reasonable, and usable. Alright. Well, I think that's all for me in explanation from chapter 3 until chapter 4. Thank you.